In the land of sky-high plateaus and frostbitten nights, the Andes cradle secrets not readily whispered. Once these rugged peaks bore witness to the rise of the Wari, an empire spun from the very fibres of the earth. Here, 6th century farmers carved wonder from stone and channeled glacial streams, forging terraced marvels that caught the first light of dawn. Under Viracocha Pampa, scattered highland clans wove into a tapestry of power. The llama caravans wound through fresh-cut roads, obsidian and shells gleaming beneath a dizzying sky. Yet like all things woven tightly, the seams would eventually unravel, enter the Dark Age. Step into the realm where bold ambition and the rugged wilderness intertwined, birthing an empire in the shadowed heights of the Andes. In the whispering chill of the early morning, perched high on the Ayacucho Plateau, the seeds of a civilization quietly took root. This is the tale of the Wari, a people who transform rocky hillside and rushing stream into a stage for empire, as stirring as any ancient legend etched in stone. A millennium and a half ago, visionary farmers gazed upon a landscape that, to the untrained eye, appeared daunting and inhospitable. Yet, where some saw barren peaks and relentless cold, they perceived a canvas rich with potential. With relentless dedication, they coaxed glacial waters into obedient torrents, carving terraces that were, in their own way, echoes of celestial order. These stepped fields were not just a source of sustenance, they were manifestations of unity, drawing scattered communities into a shared purpose and weaving their lives into the earth with each harvest. At the helm of this burgeoning society rose a figure known to history as Viracocha Pampa. With a presence as commanding as the peaks that cradled his empire, he unified disparate clans into a force woven together with keen strategy and an elegant hand. His command was not forged in brute strength alone, but was bolstered by an ability to inspire. With every spoken word, he crafted a grand narrative of shared destiny and prosperity that extended beyond his own life into the heart of what would become the Wari Empire. In the early days of their rise, the Wari's influence was a subtle web, spun from threads of trade, art and warfare. Their keen intellect and innovation churned far-reaching networks of commerce, while their diplomatic prowess alternated between negotiation and conquest to extend their reach. They were artisans and warriors alike, their identity stamped upon every brightly coloured tapestry, a meticulously knotted quipu cord. These cords, intricate with knots and vibrations of meaning, captured the essence of their governance, though their precise language eludes our modern grasp. Central to this vibrant network was the movement of caravans across treacherous mountain paths, led by sturdy llamas whose feet wove indelible trails into the Andean landscape. These caravans became vital arteries, pumping lifeblood throughout the empire and delivering goods such as obsidian and shells to distant lands. The bustling trade spoke of Wari dominance, long before their army's footsteps echoed through new territories, showcasing their understanding of influence as both a weapon and a balm. The roads that stitched the empire together were modern marvels, rivaling those of later empires, engineered with the grit and spirit of a people who refused to let the jagged terrain dictate their fate. These paths brought stability and connectedness to Wari's realm. Along these routes, the empire's ambitions soared high, as did the souls of those who tread them with purpose, echoing the pulse of Wari, the capital. Set at an altitude where lesser cities might falter, Wari stood firm, a grand creation born of both vision and necessity. its labyrinthine streets teemed with bureaucratic activity, a harmonious dance of ritual and routine, refined amidst adobe walls and stone grids, aligned with cosmic precision. In Wari, art reached its pinnacle, politics simmered like a well-brewed chicha, and the heartbeat of an empire resonated through corridors awash with incense and whispers of power. Amidst the ceremonial splendour, the Wari wove a cultural tapestry as rich in diversity as it was in tradition. Festivals resonated with the chants of collective hopes, where magic infused the air and ancient superstition mingled with cosmic scales. The supernatural danced alongside the mundane, creating rituals that layered each conquest with spiritual significance, binding subjects to their Wari lords as much as taxation or tribute possibly could. Yet all this splendour required a delicate balance. As their shadow lengthened across mountain and valley, the Wari perfected the art of governance, giving local leaders just enough autonomy to nurture their identity while ensuring allegiance to the central powers. It was a subtle dance, this intersection of liberty and control, one that allowed diverse regions to flourish under a single realm's banner, secured by diplomacy as deft as any crafted artefact. In these early days, the Wari's influence grew steadily more profound. Their ambitions mirrored in the stone terraces and expanded trade networks. The land, once a silent witness to their birth, now carried the marks of their burgeoning authority. As we gaze upon this scene, alive with past echoes, we glimpse an empire poised to leave an indelible mark upon the Andean world, a legacy carved into stone steps reaching skyward, ready to stride into the annals of history. High on the Ayacucho Plateau, at 2,600 metres above sea level, lies Wari, a place of both gravity and mystery in the Wari Empire. Here, amidst the city's sprawling 400 hectares, rulers orchestrated a grand experiment in governance and urban planning. The city's formidable walls held more than stone. They cradled the ambitions of an empire hung above the crossroads of ancient trade routes. Wari's rise was no random act, but rather the meticulous handiwork of rulers who understood its potential as a linchpin of divine and terrestrial power. Streets wound like the threads of a quipu, a mnemonic system of knotted cords that served as the lifeblood for a complex web of administration. Within this labyrinth, an educated elite directed the empire's pulse. Bureaucrats kept resource inventories on quipus, transforming these cords into an early form of data management. In chambers echoing with purpose, they untangled the knots of power, allocating resources and devising policies that influenced provinces stretching from the misty Nazca coast to rugged highlands. Here, the shuffling of papers and whispered calculations created a cadence that underscored the city's order and complexity, where every economic transaction bore the weight of imperial ambition. Integral to Wari's essence were the D-shaped temples, architectural wonders capturing the sun's journey across the sky. These temples weren't mere structures, they were sacred geometries, embodiments of the Wari's celestial logic. Imagine a realm where the walls absorbed the warmth of the sun, weaving together cosmic prophecy and earthly governance. As corn beer and incense clouded the air, priests read the stars, tying celestial threads into agricultural calendars that govern the city's sustenance. The temples stood as reminders. Here, the earthly and the divine waltzed in an unending dance, anchoring Wari's cultural core. Amid Wari's corridors, the unseen architects of empire worked with precision, their world a symphony of colour-coded halls and intricate records. Each adobe structure was carefully orchestrated to reflect the social order, echoing the keepers' complexity. The dusty footfalls of masked attendants stirred anticipation, a practice rooted in the belief that turquoise masks conferred divine authority. As outsiders stepped into Wari, they encountered not just simple adornments, but a display of power. The blue-green sheen reflecting not only sunlight, but also the layers of status, illuminating an unspoken social contract. In Wari, shades meant social cues. Walls whispered their stories in colours, each hue guiding the weary traveller or seasoned diplomat through the maze of authority. For a civilization without a written script, colours substituted for a citywide manuscript, seamlessly blending architecture and social order. As visitors navigated this painted world, they learned the unspoken art of anticipation and adaptation. Streets thrummed with life, a market beckoning with the aroma of chicha and llama dung, the scent of survival blended with tradition. Yet Wari was not simply an administrative hub, it was a cultural crossroads. Through the echoing alleys, aristocrats and artisans shared the rhythms of a daily life, textured by economic imperatives and spiritual beliefs. The city's heartbeat could be felt in its markets, where lively bartering unfolded beneath a canopy of woven tapestries, each piece a testament to the empire's artistic prowess. Every interaction, from the cheerful haggling of merchants to the more sombre exchange of political counsel, contributed to a city alive with the economics of empire and the pulse of human endeavour. Feasts in Wari were grand spectacles, sophisticated theatres where the sacred met the secular, transforming the city into a rhythmic celebration of cosmic and earthly alignments. During these festivals, the boundaries blurred between hierarchical roles, washed away in chicha's golden amber. The city's streets resonated with the beat of drums and the rustle of ceremonial garments. Rituals in rhythmic harmony with the ordinary, every step affirming communal identity. Such celebrations were vital, invigorating the spirit of unity amidst the maze-like cityscape. The allure of Wari drew outsiders, merchants, envoys and adventurers, eager to weave themselves into its intricate social fabric. Yet, the city required not just a quick eye, but a nuanced understanding of Wari norms and subtleties. It was a world where every handshake was a negotiation, every smile a calculated risk within a tableau that balanced ambition with cultural respect. Success came to those who mastered this social dance, turning challenges into opportunities, a humbling yet rewarding initiation into the empire's hidden vibrancy. Today, as researchers unearth Wari's secrets, they uncover more than just an ancient city. They reveal an enduring legacy of human ingenuity and adaptation. The principles forged within Wari's adobe walls ripple through time, influencing successor civilizations, offering current generations a glimpse into a world where the divine and mundane coalesced in a perpetual embrace. Through the dust, noise, and ambition, Wari whispers across centuries, a testament to how human spirit can mould and be moulded by the immovable forces of tradition and nature alike. High in the Andes, the Wari Empire extended its reach well beyond its capital at Wari, venturing into formidable landscapes that tested their resolve and ingenuity. This vast network wasn't just about governance, it was an intricate web of cultural and economic connections, gripping the Andean lands in ways both subtle and overt. Picture Wari emissaries as they step into the harsh beauty of the Moquegua Valley, their mission clear: to tame these lands and weave them into the empire's grand design. Cerro Baul, a fortress impressively perched atop its own isolated mesa, became a linchpin of Wari ambition. The windswept heights offered sweeping views and daunting natural defences, making the site both a gauntlet and a gateway. Here mountains whispered secrets in shifting shadows, and the Wari listened intently. On these precipices, they mastered control over the growing trade networks that crisscrossed the rugged terrain, using their position to ensure a steady flow of prized resources, from copper to obsidian. The Empire's power wasn't merely asserted through strength, but also through social cohesion, maintained through vibrant rituals at sites like Cerro Baul. The Wari understood that feasting was a language of its own, a ceremony binding allies and subduing rivals. Imagine vast courtyard gatherings, filled with the heady aroma of brewing chicha, a corn beer that transcended mere drink. At these monumental feasts, local leaders tasted both the prosperity and omnipotence of Wari rule, drinking from shared cups that murmured promises and spoke in silence. As the Andean sun cast shadows against the fortress walls, architectural designs at Cerro Baul told tales of diplomacy as much as defence. The fortifications loomed not just as barriers, but as bridges between conquerors and the conquered. Interiors brimmed with communal spaces where both local traditions and Wari innovations danced together, creating a blend of styles that spoke of unity and diversity, a delicate balance between adaptation and assertion. Within this bustling microcosm, the craft of brewing, particularly the making of chicha, blended art with necessity. Giant ceramic vats hinted at gatherings where politics and spirituality mingled in spirited fermentation. The brews were more than a culinary staple. They were the liquid threads binding the Empire's human tapestry, offering warmth on cold nights, and connections between hearts that transcended the mountainous distances. But as we delve into these feats of human endeavour, we must pause to marvel at the Wari's harmony with their environment. Ingenious irrigation networks snake through the Moquegua Valley, transforming parched earth into thriving gardens. Canal systems became lifelines, sustaining the Empire's expansive reach. This mastery of water didn't just ensure survival, it showcased the Wari's authority over nature itself, a bold statement carved into the landscape with every diverted stream. The influence of the gods echoed through Wari endeavours, especially in their cliffside temples. Majestic with their backdrop of sky and earth, these temples weren't just built to scrape the heavens, but to conduct a cosmic symphony that pulled diverse peoples into the fold, inspired awe and reaffirmed the Empire's divine blessing. They served as stage and sanctuary for rituals that bound the spiritual and the terrestrial in a narrative of shared destiny. The ever-turning wheel of trade kept the Empire well-oiled, with colonies like Cerro Baul acting as vibrant hubs. Goods and ideas flowed along weather-beaten paths, shaping the Empire physically and culturally. In this network, the Wari drew wealth from the ground, copper for tools, shells for adornment, and wealth from the sea to enrich their aesthetic expressions, reinforcing their empire at a time when trade was as vital as conquest. Yet the Andean realm was restless, its ground shifting underfoot, echoing the Empire's own potential vulnerability. Earthquakes reminded the Wari of forces beyond their control, rumbling messages from the gods through the stones of their constructions. Clever engineering with trapezoidal windows and precise stonework helped their structures dance with the Earth's tremors, absorbing shocks that lesser buildings would crumble under. With each quake, the dichotomy of human fragility and innovation played out on nature's unpredictable stage. Ultimately, the Wari's approach to colonisation was as much about integration as dominance. Marriages melded bloodlines, with shared traditions seeding loyalty over time. Artefacts from the era reveal this cultural blend, where textiles carried patterns that told stories in threads, marrying aesthetic traditions in a visual pact. The Wari, through their adaptive wisdom, both embraced and influenced, offering a legacy of fusion that would echo well beyond their dominion, forging ties that endured even as their political grip faltered. Imperial grandeur, enticing as it was, bore its own fragility, a truth magnified as the Wari navigated their empire through waves of change and resistance. For all their prowess, they could not hold back the tides of time and fate. The eventual decline of their colonies, drawn out like a long fading note, spoke to the delicate balance between reach and overreach, mastery and modesty, a saga of ambition, written into the Andean wind and whispered through its valleys. Picture the high Andean plains where nights bite with bone-chilling frost. Here the Wari Empire rewrote the rules of agriculture with a stroke of genius, the waru. These raised beds of earth, interspersed with water-filled canals, were not just utilitarian marvels, but a tapestry of engineering, ecology, and cosmic faith. Harvested by the golden rays of the sun, they were a nod to the heavens, showing how the Wari understood their world as a blend of soil and star. Imagine the sight from an ancient perch, rows of earth reaching skyward, bordered by shimmering channels. They mirrored constellations, perhaps mythic figures that populated the Wari sky, suggesting a divine touch in their very arrangement. By day, the water absorbed the sun's warmth, releasing it at night to ward off frost, a literal cradle of warmth for precious crops. These fields were a communal endeavour, requiring everyone to labour and learn nature's secrets. Channels directed life-giving water from distant lakes, cultivating more than just the land, fortifying community bonds and echoing older wetlands to enrich the soil. Walking these fields meant stepping into a realm where earth and cosmos danced, reflecting the celestial tapestry from which their utmost understanding sprang. Such fields echoed deeper truths, perhaps even spiritual ones. A glance upwards saw stars whose patterns were etched below, linking agriculture with heavenly cycles. By weaving fields with celestial precision, the Wari honoured deities and sought to preserve cosmic harmony. Rituals may have graced the changing seasons, with fires flickering in nightfall across these celebrated ridges. Planting and harvest were heralded with offerings, perhaps simple tokens carried by the water's edge. Events were timed to the stars, a celestial compass for the Wari's earthly duties. Crops thrived under divine guidance, a power believed as thriving as the fields themselves. Such was the Wari way, an existence deeply interlaced with the universe. But it was not just about crops. High-altitude farming among windswept plains called for methods to temper the relentless elements. The Wari did just that, crafting resilient systems to stave off famine. Waru served as formidable guardians against floods and saviours during droughts, channeling excess water into reservoirs, maintaining a delicate equilibrium. Here in the Altiplano, where natural disasters threatened unchecked, a community's ingenuity became its lifeline. Ingenious workers excavated soil and shaped these fields, finding strength in trial and error. Some landscapes demanded revised designs through countless seasons, each shift an iteration toward perfection. Every ridge and channel was a testament to endurance and insight, enabling the Wari to flourish in this formidable realm. In the Wari cultural fabric, maize wasn't just food, it was a staple of life and ritual. Its cultivation followed cosmic calendars, aligning with phases of the moon, positions of stars, sacred in their approach. Agricultural practices were spiritual and communal, fortifying society through shared efforts toward divine favour. Ceremonies invoked crop spirits, entreating the gods for prosperity. Acts not only of faith but obligations entwined with governance. Each stalk of maize whispered tales of cosmic ties and the ancient hands that planted it. The abundance derived from these efforts marked not just survival, but prosperity that spilled into the social hierarchy. Leaders orchestrated labour, securing productivity as evidence of their rule and divine endorsement. The strength of surplus bolstered trade, woven into the empire's broader tapestry. The dizzying dance of cosmic alignment, interspersed with agricultural might, opened pathways that modern eyes revisit today. Aerial views reveal the grand layout of Waru, a stark geometric beauty. Images taken from the sky witness a lost era's knowledge timelessly etched into Earth's canvas. In deciphering these celestial maps, archaeologists pique curiosity, realising that these constructions, optimised and adapted, have stood enduring challenges. Waru stands today, ingeniously displaying environmental stewardship. Their form a dialogue that echoes through time. And what harvest celebration would be complete without dance? In every step, Wari's social life surged with song and spun tales amid the Waru fields. Such gatherings reinforced unity and spirit, creating art from the very soil they lived upon, curling time around joyful footfalls. Yet the Andean climate's unpredictability tested even the Waru. Droughts and floods challenged Wari adaptability, forcing them into action. Channels widened or shrank. Fields rose or fell with changing needs. This flexibility enabled them to endure, a constant testament to their fortitude and their reverence for nature's capricious cycles. The legacy of Waru surpasses utility, resonating through Andean time with each line drawn into future fields. A whisper of that ingenuity handed down to those who would come later, nurturing seeds of knowledge resisting colonial recedes. In each story pulled from the Waru swells, an invitation lies to see the world as the Wari did. No division between heaven and harvest. Standing amidst these fields, we glimpse reflections of a culture's soul, reminding us of nature's eternal promise and the human spirit's unyielding capacity. The Waru whisper to us, invoking lessons of adaptability and respect, blending past and future in the rhythmic music between the earth and sky. In the highlands of the ancient Wari Empire, weaving was a transformative craft, transcending its practical roots to become a potent symbol of social and political expression. Alpaca fibres, under the skillful hands of Wari artisans, evolved into sizable tapestries as intricate as the empire's own story. These textiles did more than please the eye. They spoke a language of woven motifs that detailed social hierarchies and territorial identities. Creating a tapestry was no ordinary chore, but a ritual steeped in precision and purpose. Weaver guilds, far from the lower echelons of society, were highly regarded and used as conduits for state propaganda. Through interlaced threads, the current Wari rulers connected with ancestral narratives, etching conquest and diplomacy tales within the warp and weft of step-fret geometry and abstract godly figures. Textiles operated beyond the realm of art, extending their utility into societal frameworks as visible indicators of status, and allegiance. Garments donned by high-ranking officials were less clothing and more declarations of power. Draped with tapestries, these officials visually cemented their roles during ceremonies and encounters. Provincial leaders keen to assimilate Wari styles integrated such textiles within their own local customs as gestures of alliance. Beyond adorning bodies, fabrics enriched sacred spaces, intertwining political discourse with religious ceremonies. The vibrant dyes, products of exotic plants and minerals, underscored the Wari's engineering prowess. Thus, textiles were far more than decorative items. They were the empire's cohesive threads. The bustling city of Wari turned into a vibrant arena for one of the empire's most significant events, the annual gathering of provincial lords. These summits buzzed with various dialects, each murmur a testament to the empire's far-reaching influence. Drummers and flutists set the rhythm for these diplomatic dances, heralding the presence of powerful patrons. The meetings weren't just political transactions, but deeply wrapped in camaraderie. The city coloured in celebration, each lord bringing their province's pulse, ensuring the empire resonated with local life. Central to these gatherings was the ritualistic act of feasting. Chicha, a corn beer brewed to perfection and poured in 5-gallon jars, fueled political conversations and camaraderie. The stories traded over shared drinks stitched bonds of kinship and trust, uniting rivalries momentarily under a communal banner. Every grain consumed during these feasts symbolised sustenance and allegiance, reinforcing stability and divine favour. Political exchanges, veiled under chicha-induced camaraderie, revealed the court's strategic generosity in weaving the expansive tapestry of Wari loyalty. Wari textiles told tales beyond elegance, embedding complex geopolitical stories in every thread. Step-fret patterns reflected empire interconnectivity, while abstracts of the staff god and divine figures conveyed the sovereign's divine rights. These motifs educated as much as they adorned, aligning provincial identities with the empire's collective narrative. Thus, textiles, far from mundane, emerged as critical carriers of Wari ideology, standing guard over tradition against the tides of change. They were not just utilitarian but acted as channels of political propaganda, each piece a visual tract advocating imperial supremacy. Provincial leaders donning these textiles signified compliance and further cemented unity, ensuring cultural continuity amid shifting political landscapes. Step into the heart of textile creation, and you encounter a sacred dialogue between nature and artisan. Wool from alpacas, transformed through the ritualistic dyeing with plants and minerals, turned mundane fibres into vibrant entities that embodied both human creativity and divine inspiration. Each transformation from raw wool to sacred narrative symbolised humanity's delicate balance with divine forces. The process of weaving on the loom, a place where artistry and legacy intertwined, was a collective symphony of skill, with artisans crafting more than tapestries. They wove the empire's essence within every pattern and motif. Chicha stood as a binding agent in these political tapestries, its brewing rituals steeped in agricultural celebration and divine favour. Royal brewers, highly respected, conducted this alchemy, concentrating earth and sun energies into this symbolic brew. Shared among lords, Chicha reaffirmed alliances and passed on unspoken proclamations of power and unity. The act of sharing thus went beyond mere tradition, serving as an unyielding cord of Wari cultural expansion and cohesion. Clothing too bridged identity and legacy, where every fold and hue narrated one's rank and story. Fine textiles identified high-status wearers, their garments narrating legacies and affirming connections to Wari authority. More than mere attire, clothing aligned provincial and imperial narratives, fostering a cohesive yet diverse cultural unity. Ceremonial attire amplified imperial presence, woven deeply with spiritual significance to validate earthly power as a divine right. Finally, even as the Wari's power receded, the legacy of their textiles endured. Future generations warmed themselves with motifs from a shared past, their vibrant patterns transcending empire, rising anew through later civilizations. Modern artisans continue to weave ancient Wari motifs, linking past and present narratives, ensuring this thread remains unbroken, a continuous dialogue between story and identity, weaving through the looms of time. In the shadowy dance of the sun slipping behind the Andes, Lake Titicaca's ripples darkened with foreboding, signalling not just a dip into drought but a cosmic twist for the Wari. This wasn't just a dry spell, it was a betrayal of the sacred lifeline that bound their world together. The sediments of the lake tell tales of sudden water decline around 800 CE, a stark warning that found its echo in the tight rings of the ancient polylepis trees, each recording a year of struggle. As the rains vanished, the Wari, masters of their environment, found their destiny entwined with the fickle whims of the skies. As fields shriveled, a quiet exodus of families moved like ghosts towards Wari's strength, hoping for salvation. These were paths marked by desperation, lined with the dusty footprints of those who left their homes behind. The mighty provincial lands, once overflowing with abundance, turned barren, placing an unbearable strain on the capital's stores, which quickly went from overflowing granaries to rationed reserves. Governors, once pillars of support, now became possessors of scarcity, clenching tight to what little they had. In this dry and cracking landscape, paranoia seeped into the air. Governors fortified their power with a mix of cunning and fear, turning against allies, hoarding dwindling resources in an atmosphere thick with mistrust. Where once there was fealty, now survival whispered darker inclinations. Imperial directives met with regional self-interest, and this tension stitched a fragile tapestry of obedience and rebellion. These were times when bonds were tested and betrayed, where the veil of unity was as thin as a rationed cup of corn beer, shared at ceremonies that desperately tried to maintain some semblance of normality. Despite the drought's clause, the heartbeat of Wari society pulsed with ritual and celebration. Festivals, albeit muted, persisted. Textiles woven in vivid hues adorned gatherings, their colours a reminder of historic unity and the cosmic order. Stews and brews cobbled together from whatever remained carried the spirit of past feasts, bringing communities together under star-strewn skies. With dry humour, tales were told, grounding people in shared stories, even as the earth cracked underfoot. Amidst this chaos, the delicate dance of alliances played out. Once dominant provincial lords now sought safety in numbers, offering protection for fealty and unity in exchange for lifelines of grain. This strange flexibility both sustained the illusion of an empire and sowed seeds of its undoing. The political ecosystem adapted like a cunning chameleon, trying to keep insurrection at bay while safeguarding local interests. Traversing this frayed imperial fabric were emissaries who once expanded borders but now sought to knit them back together, offering peace in the face of pressing need. They carried whispers of reconciliation in their hearts, Yet those whispers were often drowned by the clamour for self-preservation. Traditions clung on, like ivy over ruins, amidst councils led by diminished hope. These rituals and stories, carried by chancery riders and firelight tales, offered a fragile anchor to the past, while negotiating unpredictable tides. Across the high plains and isolated ridges, the drought sparked emergent sovereignties, fleeting yet fierce. Communities finding new independence in the wake of severed ties turned inward, nurturing survival through newfound autonomy. These enclaves weren't products of rebellion but born out of need, pushing against a world grown larger and more daunting under an empty sky. Innovation became the silent hero in these desperate times. The Wari, faced with relentless adversity, turned their wits towards survival, innovation creeping like vines through cracks of despair. Irrigation designs were tinkered to combat the harsh, dry seasons, new weaving techniques born of necessity, and the stars watched as people sought them for guidance. The stories of drought weren't just whispered in fear, but captured enduringly in tapestries, where colours danced to keep memories alive. In these vibrant threads, craftsmen chronicled the struggle, resilience shaping myths and scripts that pass down through the ages, ensuring that the endurance of the Wari spirit would not fade from memory. The Wari left behind echoes that reached far beyond their time, strands of innovation lacing through the generations. Their water management and agrarian prowess carved lessons into the land, inspiring successors who reaped the benefits of Wari's hard-learned wisdom. Through these enduring legacies, the Wari's silent conversations with the earth and sky continue to inform the futures of civilizations that followed under the eternally watchful Andean heavens. In the hushed whispers carried by the chilling winds of the Andean highlands, rebellion stirred among the Wari frontier colonies. The once tightly knit mountaintop settlements, bonded by diplomacy and feasting, now found themselves fraught with tension and discontent. Cerro Baul, a vital ceremonial hub perched on a towering mesa, stood at the heart of this rising storm. With alliances strained under the weight of parched fields and oppressive rule, the festivity glows of colossal chicha vats offered not future loyalty, but temporary solace from the pervasive gloom. Caught between relentless droughts and relentless uprisings at their fringes, the Wari administration clung desperately to authority. Sombre-eyed officials consulted encoded knotted cords, while ominous whispers of godly omens filled the air. Among the intricate networks of trade and tribute, ancient feuds and festering grievances simmered dangerously. The looming threat of rebellion was tangible, and Cerro Baul, once a linchpin of Wari control, now trembled at the edge of a combustive clash between an empire's arrogance and the province's desperation. Under an obsidian sky, the rebellion unfolded like a choreographed play, its scene set for chaos. Silence blanketed the highlands before breaking with a night's violent symphony. With a signal known only to the conspirators, flames erupted, cutting through symbols of power and control. Stately breweries, once emblems of wealth, stood defenceless as rebels seized the moment to reclaim autonomy. Dancing firelight cast flickering shadows of defiance against the mesa's sheer edges, illuminating the desperation and fury of lives long dominated by distant rulers. No prisoners were taken as the rebels pursued a singular purpose, fueled by resentment and recent hardships. Overnight, opulent banquet halls crumbled to smouldering ruins, leaving charred quinoa and shattered ceremonial vessels, as silent witnesses to this night of upheaval. The conflagration, both literal and symbolic, severed the sinews that linked the Wari command with the edges they had sought to control. By dawn's light, only embers remained atop the mesa, where once proud halls embodied uninterrupted imperial reach, now reduced to ash as the empire's grasp faltered. Amidst the chaos, Wari officials accustomed to untouchable dominion found themselves confronted with an uncomfortable reality. Caught in the fiery maelstrom at Cerro Baul, political functionaries and religious elites scrambled for escape. In their ornate costumes, now impractical, they fled under cover of night, navigating perilous paths away from the blaze. The journey, once leading to secure valleys steeped in imperial order, had become a voyage into uncertain realms stripped of protection. The hasty retreat marked not only a fracture in Wari supremacy, but also a transformation of the once order-driven figures into desperate refugees within their empire. Dawn revealed Cerro Baul's desolation, a majestic but forsaken relic of imperial hubris. The mesa stood silent, its grandeur overshadowed by the skeletal remains of destroyed ceremony halls and breweries. The emptiness spoke of more than physical ruin. It symbolised the chaos rippling through the Wari domain, as outlying provinces tasted newfound liberty amidst dissolution. Without imperial stewards to enforce rites of tribute and allegiance, the mesa transformed into a cautionary tale of power's fragility atop a bedrock of discontent. As the empire slipped into historical obscurity, Cerro Baul bore witness to the cyclical dance of power lost and reclaimed. In the aftermath of rebellion, the Wari lands lay changed, power's remnants now rubble scattered amidst whispered consequences. Both insiders and commoners found new patterns amid the ruins as life reorganised. The echoes of battle faded, yet their implications reverberated, birthing an improvised order emerging from chaos. Wari's fall highlighted the resilience of its people, who reconstructed vibrant networks independent from the imperial umbrella, emphasising flexible renewal over nostalgia. Local leaders, once intermediaries addressing taxes and prayers across great distances, rose to prominence within self-sufficient confederacies. The necessity drove their ascent, a crucial role in managing reborn agricultural and trade systems. The enduring scars emphasised the people's resilience, reminding them that progress necessitated adaptability. The flames that devastated much did not quell hope, but instead sparked renewal, a living testament to crafting history anew from past failures. Modern archaeology, like a detective peeling back layers of history, uncovers Cerro Baul's hidden tales. Scientific analysis of charred relics and pottery shards unfolds stories carried by Andean winds. This narrative, brought to light through meticulous excavation, tells the two ends of a drama: the early tensions and the violent crescendo. Ironically, what the rebels sought to silence, archaeology gives voice to. Fire-ravaged ruins transform into tangible archives, unmasking Wari's once imposing structures. Cerro Baul becomes both myth and lesson, its fragments poignant touchstones in studies revealing the complexities of collapse and the enduring human spirit. The Wari's lasting influence permeated local cultures, transforming collapse into creativity-driven resurgence. Rebel hands adeptly reimagined architecture, blending Wari marvels into compact yet meaningful designs. These adaptations showcased inventive artistry, neither reflecting defeat nor nostalgia, but rather cultures united by history. The hybrid designs sustain their significance, weaving a paradoxical identity between rebellion and heritage. Cerro Baul's fiery tale imparts a broader wisdom. Unchecked authority fosters rebellion. For Wari elders, the certainty of their governance eroded under the pressure for inclusivity and local agency. As Wari power dispersed, future guardians learned that true governance reconciled overarching influence with regional autonomy. Chero Bawl's legacy echoes beyond borders, inviting decisions shaping generations, not through fleeting dominion, but through engaged, inclusive stewardship. Wari, once a thriving epicenter of trade, ritual, and governance, began to show signs of strain with the advent of the 9th century. The sounds that used to echo through its bustling streets started to fade, drowned out by a multi-generational drought that crippled agricultural production and choked the life out of the once prosperous Waru systems. Refugees, driven by desperation, flooded the city, further straining resources and deepening the cracks in its structural integrity. Social stratification became ever more pronounced as elites clung desperately to their dwindling power and resources. The administrative machine, once the pride of Wari, faltered. Tributary networks grew brittle, buckling under the weight of instability, as distant colonies either succumbed to environmental calamities or rebelled against central authority. The end of agricultural surpluses fractured trade networks, sending shockwaves throughout the empire. Localized leadership emerged, scrambling for survival and undermining Wari's once unquestionable dominance. In the heart of the city, the evidence of decay was everywhere. Cluttered and unmanaged spaces that signalled a loosening grip on control. Amid this turmoil, mundane artifacts of life became revealing clues, providing grisly snapshots of a society in decline. Excavations uncovered broken pottery, littering excavation sites, discarded hastily in the rush of deteriorating daily life. Post holes told stories of makeshift shelters in what were once orderly plazas, emblems of chaos where authority had given way to desperate adaptation. Social dynamics shifted visibly as the echoes of past order turned into a cacophony of makeshift settlements and overpopulation-driven desperation. Wari's refuse painted a bleak picture, from the decay of everyday tools to the disappearance of cultural finery. The fine details of once glorious tapestries and pottery vanished, replaced by basic, utilitarian substitutes. Bones, discarded tools, and human remains lay haphazardly scattered, evidence of communities improvising survival amidst escalating turmoil. The physical decay mirrored an emotional and societal breakdown, the remnants of an era compressed into layers of earth by weary hands. In this fragmented world, social cohesion disintegrated. Without the glue of consistent governance or interconnected trade, communities fractured into isolated clusters, driven by scarcity and a primal need to survive. Internal hierarchies crumbled under the strain, as elite control faded and chaos reigned. Spaces once dedicated to communal gatherings now saw competition for resources, an ironic twist of fate amidst ritual ruins. The once silent looms in Wari fell into an eerie stillness. Textile arts symbolic of Wari sophistication and connectivity receded into memory. Tapestry designs that had once reflected religious and sovereign power now lay abandoned in favour of necessity-driven simplicity. The silence of the looms marked a profound cultural rupture, severing ties to the ideological and societal frameworks that had once bound Wari civilization. Wari's compelling quipu, their intricate knot-based record-keeping system, vanished too. These fibres once documented the empire's transactions and tribute flows, but as centralised governance faltered, they became redundant, reflecting the broader disintegration of bureaucratic order. The disappearance of the quipu mirrored the loss of systematic communication, a metaphor for a society unraveling into isolated provincial pockets. Amid Wari's urban decay, the marketplace, once alive with interaction and exchange, fell into disarray, a microcosm of the empire's frayed edges. The grandeur of the compounds faded into grimy survival functionality, as visitors once greeted with elegance now navigated a background of creeping ruin. Governance melded with community life into indistinguishable chaos, past elegance swallowed by relentless degradation. Spirituality and religion, too, found themselves shaken. The resplendent temples of Wari, once beacons of spiritual unity, stood silenced, their plazas empty of fervour. As rituals faded, belief systems faltered under the weight of agricultural failures and societal fragmentation. D-shaped sanctums, echoes of cosmic design, were left hollow of devotion, their significance overshadowed by the realities of mere survival. Socioeconomic realities differed sharply between classes. While the elite initially managed to hoard resources, eventually even they could not escape scarcity's grip. Inequalities grew as some exploited labour irresponsibly or banked on fleeting prestige, reshaping social dynamics amid the chaos. Ironically, the elite's struggles mirrored those of the commoners, as both strata were drawn into innovative survival strategies. In the shadows of collapse, communities clung desperately to their identities, forging new bonds out of survival instinct. As kinship lines strengthened, cooperative resistance to external pressures became the focus, fostering alliances in the face of disintegration. Cultural renewal emerged from these alliances, a legacy of resilience reflecting Wari's capacity to adapt and survive. Wari's imperial legacy, phoenix-like, rose from its ashes. The seeds of Wari innovation lay buried beneath, influencing successor civilizations. The Inca, for instance, adopted Wari terraces and roads, charting new paths over ancient blueprints. Ruins, far from mere remnants, became cornerstones of future advancements, silent witnesses to the transformative power of collapse. After the mighty Wari Empire's fall, the Andean highlands transformed, with the once dominant power dissolving into a mosaic of hill forts or pucaras, each a bastion of resilience and innovation. These fortresses, perched defiantly on the highest peaks, became more than mere military strongholds. They were the nuclei of emerging micro-kingdoms. Local chieftains, seizing the opportunity left in the empire's wake, constructed stone walls reaching the sky, turning these bastions into hubs of governance, trade, and communal life. Surrounding these fortresses, the air buzzed not just with the chill of the high altitudes, but with the palpable sense of new beginnings forged from age-old traditions. Architectural echoes of Wari designs lingered in these structures, though adapted with local flair, as each community built its narrative of survival and identity within these wind-battered walls. The Wari legacy hinted through their designs, yet local influences flourished, creating fortresses that were a testament to adaptation, responding to harsher neighbourly interactions and an ever-changing political landscape. Within these forts, chieftains began crafting new laws and cultural practices. There was an air of steady determination in these confines, where the old danced with the new in a harmonious or occasionally discordant routine. As these chieftains interpreted Wari customs through the lens of local needs, they laid down cultural footprints unique to each community, threading through the legacy of a once great empire with fresh iconography. When the Wari core disintegrated, a massive movement of people ensued, driven by the need for protection and stability. Mass migrations towards the hill forts painted a picture of societies in flux. Social structures, once firmly rooted in Wari gold, were redefined into a rich weave of cultures, converging and adapting. These fortresses became melting pots where old traditions met new practices, leading to a blend of identities. The people adjusted roles, recalibrated cultural norms, and in a testament to human resilience, preserved age-old traditions, though reshaped them in response to their rugged, ascendant world. Despite upheaval, these mixtures allowed survival and growth, even as alliances shifted and new animosities emerged, showcasing the undying drive for connection, identity, and meaning. The rise of these fortresses prompted ingenious military and domestic innovations, responding to the pressing need for security. Slingshot ramparts, shaped from stones gathered in the highlands, carved lines of defence, each layered to decelerate invaders, with warriors poised at every juncture. Beyond fortifications, these bastions address the holistic needs of their people. Water systems ingeniously collected rain during the monsoon, while agricultural terraces below enabled crop sustenance, creating a proactive approach to adversity. These hill forts mirrored not just reactive stances to chaos, but signalled a calculated persistence for survival. Pottery, a vital craft in these communities, mirrored the cultural transformations engulfing the Andean societies. Artistic expressions in ceramics evolved from utilitarian Wari styles, acquiring distinct local flavours, yet retaining echoes of the imperial past. As artisans fused Wari intricacy with regional materials, their pottery emerged as a narrative canvas connected to the past, yet distinctly novel. The variety in pottery underscored socio-economic layers within hill forts, showcasing craftsmanship for daily use and ceremonial significance, indicating a resilient craft continuum that reflected societal shifts. In this time of new beginnings, hill forts became governments in miniature, steered by chiefs whose power was amplified through councils of elders. These councils, diverse and varied, engaged in complex political manoeuvring, balancing internal interests while safeguarding against external threats. Unlike the Wari's vast bureaucracy, hill fort governance emerged more personal and immediate, paving the way for fresh traditions and laws deeply rooted in the local context. The shift underscored a pivotal transition from centralised might to an intimate system of governance. These bastions were not just defensive strongholds, but crucibles for evolving polities. Despite fragmentation, trade woven into the cultural fabric of these isolated societies provided an essential lifeline that defied the empire's collapse. Though grand trade networks fractured, localised trade flourished through mutual necessity. Hill forts became not only hubs of goods exchange, but also epicentres of cultural dialogue. Pottery, textiles and metalwork carried imprints of hybrid cultures, embodying ritual dialogues between tradition and adaptation. Myths and religious beliefs too adapted amidst the shifting socio-political landscape, integrating nature's phenomena with inherited cosmologies. Local spirits and reimagined deities adorn these forts' spiritual tapestry, binding communities in rituals that interlaced ancestral legacies with contemporary existence. The need to adapt saw traditional rites alongside new mystical elements that bore witness to creativity in spiritual practices, knitting a continuity amid the change. In times of feast and famine, resourcefulness dictated survival rhythms. Feasts echoed Wari grandiosity in diminished scales, balancing modest abundance against scarcity spectres. In famine, communities turned to food preservation innovations, reinforcing hierarchical structures through adept resource management. Economic and social roles found definition in food's procurement and allocation, channeling community resilience. In adversity, these rhythms nurtured relationships and resilience. Amidst this turmoil, artisans provided a conduit for both preservation and innovation. Crafts encapsulated dialogues between continuity and reinvention, translating lived experience into enduring art forms. Artisans within the confines of hill forts lived as keepers of narratives, forging objects that transcended utility, embodying aspirations amid a brave new world. Such expressions exemplified the resilient societies navigating through transformation while laying foundations for successors, including the Inca, whose empire drew upon these hill forts' legacy of cultural preservation and endurance. The hill forts stood as bridges in an ever-evolving tapestry, embodying Andean resilience and cultural foresight. Their legacy, tempered by conflict yet robust in survival, cast seeds that nurtured lands for centuries, embodying the enduring spirit of a people determined to rise amidst uncertainty. In the heart of the Andes, hidden beneath the grandeur of the Inca civilization, lies a forgotten legacy, the remnants of the Wari Empire. As Inca surveyors carved their expansive network of roads across the rugged highlands, they could not ignore the footprints of those who came before. These ancient pathways, first laid by the Wari, wove a tapestry of innovation and practicality that the Incas could not resist repurposing. More than mere routes, these roads symbolised an inheritance of architectural brilliance and sustainable agricultural practices, silently guiding the Incas' hand in their quest to unite an empire. Yet the influence of the Wari extended far beyond tangible pathways. Their societal structures subtly seeped into Inca governance. In the echo of past rituals and ceremonies, one can sense the lingering spirit of the Wari, whose agricultural expertise and communal strategies provided a foundation for the Incas' legendary resilience. Here the art of terrace farming, perfected by the Wari, flourished anew under the Incas, feeding millions and enduring through successive droughts. These practices not only sustained life, but mirrored celestial patterns, connecting earthbound efforts to the heavens above. An ageless bridge between two civilizations, where spirituality and innovation intertwined. As Inca messengers raced along their highways, they passed over ancient ruins, silent witnesses to a civilization that once thrived where the great empire now stood. Tucked beneath the shadows of colossal Inca architecture, these ruins told stories of Wari engineers whose mastery of stone laid a foundation for generations. Even as the stones whispered tales of bustling marketplaces and grandiose processions, they served as blueprints for future conquests. Recognizing the strategic worth of these enduring constructions, the Inca builders acknowledged the wisdom encoded within each weathered block, paving their new empire upon these very bones. Long before the Incas ascended to power, Wari textiles acted as vibrant canvases where stories of gods and societal structures were woven into every thread. These textiles, rich with symbols and motifs, educated and unified their people, and, when adopted by the Incas, became a powerful expression of identity. For the Incas, the act of wearing these woven stories transcended the mere need for clothing. Each piece became a narrative that bridged epochs, binding individuals to their ancestors while spreading across the empire. A colourful testament to a shared Andean history, these fabric threads remained vibrant, uniting both peoples under a legacy that would not unravel with time. But beneath these tangible artifacts lay the intricate social frameworks of the Wari. Their empire had been a tapestry of stratified systems that balanced religion, economy, and military might. A sophisticated weave not lost upon the Inca. Rites and processions mirrored those of their predecessors, forging a collective identity that resonated across both timelines. This shared sense of unity, even as the memory of the Wari Empire faded, allowed ancient socio-political threads to continue weaving through the tapestry of Andean history, unforgotten in the fabric of their successors. The legacy of the Wari was not simply etched into the stones or woven into garments. It ran deeper, coursing through the bloodlines of living creatures. Centuries before records marked the passage of time, Wari herders engaged in selective breeding of alpacas, creating herds well adapted to the highlands. This genetic craftsmanship is evident even today, as scientists trace the lineage of modern alpacas back to those ancient caretakers. The enduring bond between human and beast speaks volumes of a time when the Wari sowed their legacy into the very land, ensuring resilience that spanned generations, much like their fields of maize. The Wari's technological feats, whether in masonry, ceramics, or metallurgy, stand as lasting tributes to human ingenuity. The resilience of their craftsmanship transcended their empire's decline, influencing cultures that followed. For those walking in the shadow of Wari mastery, these techniques became resources, enabling civilizations to remain connected to the land and each other through a shared bond of workmanship that the Incas would amplify. Despite their downfall, Wari cultural memories wove themselves into the folklore of subsequent generations, a living tapestry passing through Inca tales and customs. These ancient whispers lent vibrancy to Inca storytelling, ensuring that the pulse of a civilization long past still beat in the hearts of those who lived thereafter. This cultural memory bound communities through shared allegiances, time and tides, translating forgotten rituals into vibrant expressions of continuity. Language, too, became an invisible thread, a tapestry knitted with words that survived the test of time. As the Inca Empire spread across its vast domain, it absorbed echoes of Wari linguistic contributions, woven into dialects spoken by thousands. This linguistic exchange offered an enduring glimpse of cultures that once flourished. Even as empires rose and fell, the intangible power of word and voice held fast, outliving tangible structures, feeding the collective Andean identity. And so, beneath every Inca footfall lay paths first shaped by Wari hands. Although physically obscured by time, these ancestral roots formed a sacred timeline across the Andes. Every new citadel built upon these foundations honoured an unseen guide, a testament to the perseverance of a people whose innovation quietly endured within stones and soil, unwavering across centuries. This enduring legacy remains, waiting to be explored and understood. If you found this story as intriguing as I have, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this journey into the echoes of the past with a friend.